Welcome back to The Loop, your weekly dose of all things property management. I'm your host, Colin Stewart, and every week we're going to dive into the latest trends, strategies, and stories shaping the property management world. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, we're here to provide insights, expert interviews, and practical tips to help you navigate the ever-evolving landscape of property management. Welcome back to The Loop, your weekly dose of all things property management. I'm your host, Colin Stewart, and each week we're going to dive into the latest trends, strategies, and stories shaping the property management world. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, we're here to provide insights, expert interviews, and practical tips to help you navigate the ever-evolving landscape of property management. My guest today is Matt Brawner, co-founder of Endurance Capital, Matt. And we're going to talk about Matt's journey into the property management space, into real estate, from single family into multifamily. Matt, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here, Colin. Thanks for having me.
I'm so interested. You got into real estate because of your softball crew? That's got to be an interesting story.
Got into real estate because of softball and I needed friends there. A group of guys playing softball together decided to get together and drink beer and throw $50 a month at the stock market. And we spent more time drinking beer than we did analyzing the stock market. But then we also decided, hey, there was other opportunities out there. It was 2011, real estate was crashing. And so the message around was, hey, if you want to throw some real money into investing, come to breakfast at Denny's. I was living with a guy I roomed with in high school and needed some friends. I was new to Minneapolis. I was like, hey, these guys seem like good guys. I'm interested in learning more. No one's depending on me to eat. If I lose $5,000, it's not going to be the end of the world. And that's what started me in real estate.
Interesting. So it grew out of a softball connection, and somehow you managed not to go where every group of college friends seems to go, which is we should buy and or build a bar. So congrats on dodging that bullet.
We spent enough money at bars, but didn't buy or build one.
Yeah.
No.
And so you started off in the single family space.
We did. So buying townhomes. Townhomes have been a hit especially hard just because of the way the financing works for those. Like when one goes, it can domino. And we liked it because we didn't have a ton of money. So you could take care of all the exteriors there through the HOA as long as the HOA was well capitalized. But we also got into this thinking that all you could do was buy townhomes. And so that was our whole mindset. We were pretty narrow-minded. The first time somebody came to us like with an apartment syndication, it was like, whoa, you could do this? Is that legal? Who goes on title? How does this all work? Because our model is you buy it, you renovate it yourself, you lease it yourself, you deal with all the tenant questions. Now that was to my benefit, but at the end of the day, it was pretty narrow focus in our regard there, benefiting along the way because of what it exposed me to.
I mean, I can see the use case for really narrowing your focus. It seems like the narrow focus helped you learn the industry, and then you found what seems to be a better model.
Yeah, we've certainly found it and developed it along the way. I can tell you we've gone from, hey, we're going to manage everything ourselves. We're going to go build out an investment company. We're going to hire all these third-party property managers. There's a lot of good people that run third-party management companies, so please don't misunderstand me. But then we got our butts kicked over a period of time and found that, hey, if these assets are really going to manage or are really going to operate the way we need them to, we just need to have more control over things on a day-to-day basis. And so then we're in the process now of bringing all of our management back in-house, and that's what keeps me busy.
Interesting. How do you go about approaching kind of the real work of property management? Is it, one property manager and they're managing everything? Is it individual teams? Like you've got, employees that are managing multi-million-dollar assets here.
Yeah, it's really dependent on the asset there. So when we started out, it was scattered site. But then as you look at the specific assets where you're getting into 100 units or more, that means then that you have to have localized teams there. And those teams have to be incentivized because you have people who are making anywhere from $60,000 to $70,000 a year that have the keys to the value of a multi-million-dollar asset. There's a couple of things that I think have just changed. I don't think we're going to see the days anymore of a leasing or a manager who only makes $60,000 to $70,000 a year. I think that's gone, right? 100 units or more. There needs to be a path for those individuals to make six figures, right? And it can be through incentives, but whether it's the competition for those individuals, how hard this has become, or frankly, how much wages have gone up. The idea that you can just run properties really well with cheap labor
Mhm.
is absolutely out the window at this point in time.
I'd love to talk about an HR, like a hard HR lesson you learned running your portfolio.
Employees are messy and they're going to turn over, and you just need to embrace that. You're good as a manager if you can understand how the financials of these properties work, and then you have a
Mhm.
really good Rolodex of people to run these properties and do contracted work. They're the people who can do the large CapEx projects. So I got into that thinking, and I like to grow employees. I want to develop, but I've had to become almost calloused in terms of people are going to turn over, and I add
Mhm.
value just based on who I know that I can fill these roles.
Fair enough. Because it is at the end of the day, you're running a people driven business. And if you're running low on people, then the quality of the customer experience suffers. And then that's going to be a leading indicator of churn or of,
Absolutely.
I guess, lease churn. How do you keep your Rolodex of folks that are great property managers so full?
So, one, it's networking, it's being active in your local apartment association. The best people also have jobs. So, it's being able to go out and constantly know who's working where,
Mhm.
keeping an eye on that. It's as you go through projects, constantly looking for the right people, not being satisfied with, as I think about contractors, your status quo there of getting an
Mhm.
idea of the new and up and coming folks are. So, it's just acknowledging that it matters and going and looking for the people.
Have you ever hired somebody that kind of shifted the way you thought about the way you run the business?
Yeah, our director of asset management. I tell him all the time his most valuable asset is his gray hair because he's gone around and seen everything. And
Mhm.
so he's just given me a whole new baseline level of knowledge to be able to operate from. I think I brought some new ideas around in terms of how we do our leasing here.
Mhm.
But just in terms of being able to talk to someone who's been there, done that with a lot of the items is incredibly valuable.
How are you thinking differently about your leasing?
So a lot of people do leasing all year round. I only want renewal dates in leasing season in the Midwest, March, September. And so I'll sign shorter leases, I'll sign longer leases, but I set it up distinctly so that all leases renew during those periods of time because I want to fish where the fish
Mhm.
are. Secondly, it helps the staff, right? The staff knows this is busy time. So don't come to me and ask to take a week off in July. It's not happening, right? Like, the time to do
Mhm.
that is November to January, February. Right now is when we work.
Gotcha. And so you've got this window. Is it the 2 months or is that whole spread is when your leases renew?
That whole spread. Yeah.
Interesting. What got you there? Like obviously there's windows and there's reasons why people are moving and not moving in certain areas, but
Just
what inspired that change?
growing a business in Minnesota and seeing that when it's really cold and it's negative 30, people don't want to move.
Gee, I wonder why.
Not so the fingers get a little cold when you're doing that stuff.
Yeah. Can you I'm curious, can you tell me about a mistake that you never repeat again or try not to repeat again?
I've been burned. I've put my finger on the scale to make underwriting work to buy properties. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, like you can't shortchange, specifically around capex. And if you want to be a long-term holder, there's
Mhm.
nothing you can do to stop stuff from breaking. And these properties require love and care and money. And so you need to be well capitalized if you're going to truly be a long-term holder.
If somebody's in third party property management now and they're thinking of kind of walking in your direction, what advice would you give them other than have a big bank account?
You don't, if I could rephrase that, I would. It's not necessarily have a big bank account, but just know that stuff breaks. Like, 'cause you have to go into
Mhm.
this with a plan. If you're going to hold for 5 years, what's on site that's going to break over that 5 years? You can't all of a sudden decide, well, I think I might hold this for 10 to 15 years because then you're going to have greater capital needs. You better have a big bank account in that instance.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of planning in that regard. And if you're a property manager and you've got clients coming to you, you need to understand the plan for an asset. How long are you planning to hold this? What is the business
Mhm.
plan associated with it? No one just buys property and operates it and has it magically get better.
Right. And so for every property you buy, you have a horizon, a time horizon of I want to own this property for X period of time.
We do. Yeah.
Do you have is there a very specific, like, are you a 5-year buyer and then you resell it after that? Or does it vary property to property?
Varies property to property, but between 5 to 10 years.
How do you work that out?
Well, a lot of it's driven by the debt, first and foremost, like what type of debt you get on it. Because to be able to,
Mhm.
you can of course refinance, but that's not free. And then it depends on the asset class, right? If you're going to buy a 1960s, 1970s asset, the only thing that's going to happen is that that's going to get older every single day. And so you need to make
Mhm.
sure you've planned for that. I love historic buildings, but historic buildings require money to operate.
Fair enough. Is that an asset class that you tend to avoid now?
It is, yeah. We bought a late 1960s one just because we owned the one across the street. By and large, especially look at what's happening in insurance markets right now. We want to be 1980s and newer.
80s and newer. I think I was surprised by the 5 years as a hold seems like a very short hold for me. I had assumed it would be a much longer term holding period. Can you help me understand that?
5 years is going to be pretty common debt term that you see for larger apartment buildings right now. And so that tends to be the floor. So I would say 5 to 10 years, but there's definitely deals I have in mind. I'm like, no, that's a 5-year deal, right? Because that's the way the debt size. And if that's the way the debt size, that's the way you planned for all the deferred maintenance. And so if you want to plan to hold it another 5 years, well, even if you can afford the debt, there's going to be other things that happen. So it's more about like honoring a plan. Like if you're going to own a property for 10 years, be prepared to own a property for 10 years. You're going to have roofs that are going to need to be replaced. You're going to have HVAC that's going to need to be replaced. There's always going to be consequences if you want to extend. And you asked me about my greatest lesson. If I were to put it more succinctly, it's this. So there's going to be negative consequences to deciding without pre-planning to extend a hold period from 5 to 7 to 10 years.
Gotcha. It does seem like a lot of hunting for the right deals if you're only hanging on to things for 5 years.
Yeah. Now you tend to own apartments in dog years. So owning a property for 5 years doesn't feel like 5 years. It feels like 35 years.
Fair enough. I guess it is, multiplied by the number of units in there and all the chaos that can happen and ensue.
Yep.
If you could sit down with yourself, you just come off the softball field and you're thinking about, hey, should I go to this breakfast? Should I start investing in single family? What advice would you give to that guy?
I would say do it, but it's going to be hard. At the end of the day, you're running a business, right? Like I used to think that real estate was somehow different than a retail business, right? It's not. Like I have things to sell. I have to sell apartments. I have to keep my expenses low in terms of how I offer those. And then I need to be constantly understanding the very basics about how these buildings operate. There's nothing special about real estate. You have to have the same level of knowledge around real estate and the intrinsic units that you're selling there than if you're selling sweatshirts, right? Like it's about knowing your product exceptionally well.
Would you still have started off in the single family? Going back with the experience you have now, or would you jump right into the big stuff?
I mean, I couldn't jump. I mean, on one hand, I'm tempted to say, yeah, wish I would have started here. But on the other hand, like I learned a ton investing in single family, and that's why I was able to. And so I'm grateful that I did. So I like to see people start, right? Like we can't all go be the big REITs that are out there. And if we just wait to do that, it's never going to come around. It's going to be a really small subset of people that own real estate.
Yeah, that's fair. It does seem like there's a danger zone of you can handle a couple units on your own off the side of your desk as sort of a hobby. And then once you get above a certain number, this damn well better be your full-time thing or you're going to be in trouble.
Agreed.
Do you have a sense of like where that number is?
I think once you get past 10, like it becomes like, hey, this is your full-time gig to do this.
Right on. If somebody's listening, they're trying to get in, what advice would you have for them in terms of save your money, do it yourself, go find investors, go find debt? Like what's worked for you? What hasn't?
I would say to just do what you can to start. Like if you have capital to start, like go invest as an LP and then be a really active LP. I certainly did it along the way and it helped me learn. I always called myself an active passive investor there. So if you have capital to invest, do that and then be able to pick a market, pick an asset class to learn a ton about, and then go talk to everyone else who does that. This is a business that's really hard to say, hey, I'm going to go study a lot about this. This is a business you learn by doing, you learn by talking to people who are out there operating it there. I think you need that baseline level of understanding to be able to go out and put all these deals together yourselves. But again, everybody's different. Maybe you've had a huge track record of success being an entrepreneur already, and you've put together capital stacks and found debt, and you've got a partner who is intimately familiar with real estate, then I think it's certainly possible for you to start off going on your own.
But it's sort of like trying to, I don't know, film a movie without ever having seen a movie. I think it's tremendous advice to say, start off as an LP so that you can see the mechanics of it first.
Exactly.
Really enjoyed the time. Last question for you. What's a hill you'll die on when it comes to real estate investing?
That real estate is good, but real estate's hard. I still think real estate's the best way to make money, but there's nothing passive about this unless you just want to invest as an LP. If you want to be more, don't let anyone tell you that this is passive. They're like, this is a job. I have a job that I do day to day. And I'm blessed to work for myself in that regard, but I
Mhm.
don't have passive income.
Which is the dream. That's what it's kind of sold as. You grow up, everybody kind of tells you that's what it is.
But you really want passive income, go buy a bond. Otherwise, you've got a job.
Love it. Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show. If people want to get in touch with you or learn more about Endurus Capital, what's the best way for them to reach out?
You can find me and Endurus on LinkedIn. Look us up there.
Perfect. I'll throw a link to your LinkedIn in the show notes. And thanks, Matt, for joining.
Colin, thanks so much for having me.
Right on. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you all next week.